to see you, mate. You survived.
Survived,
Yes.
yeah. I think I've been slightly better nick than you three. I know, marginally, maybe. Only marginally. Yeah, only marginally. Because I do like to think I haven't come down in the last shower too, Jim. I reckon I've, over the journey, been able to pick through rackets and rorts and disingenuous people.
Yes.
But I let myself down on Saturday afternoon.
You opened the door for what?
And I did it on Saturday afternoon after we came off air on the Saturday rub when this man here, Coco, said to me straight away, "What are you doing this afternoon?" And I said nothing. He goes, "Right, we're going to the pub. We're going to have a couple of quiet beers out the back of this pub. We'll have a steak sandwich. We'll have a few more beers. We'll watch the races, the footy. We'll have an early night."
Good.
Yeah.
So I fell for it, Jim. Because when I walked into this said establishment, it was an event. It was probably the biggest event in Adelaide on that moment in
was
time.
on the stage.
And Fat was on the microphone. And as soon as he saw me, then gave me 3 minutes of his, I'll say, finest. It was pretty good, but you absolutely gave it to me.
Yeah.
And then made me part of your...
And then the whole crowd started going, Damo, Damo. Had the whole crowd, didn't you?
Yeah.
It was unbelievable.
Oh, yeah.
And he got you up on stage.
Got me up on stage to help him because he told that dog poo story, which didn't go down all that well. I had to try and lift the room again, Jim, after that. So,
And you didn't.
No. I just wanted a quiet little moment with
Which
a
we
mate.
did have. We
We
did
had
have.
that after you got your little...
Except, sorry, I had my two brothers.
Your two brothers.
Well, he even got onto AFL Live, didn't he, Fat?
Did you?
Who was that? Who we were talking about it earlier. Some bloke put Fat in the votes.
Oh, Josh Gabbelich.
Josh Gabbelich, apparently. Yeah, no, I haven't heard this, but
Have a listen.
Josh Gabbelich.
If you had to give 3-2-1, could you give us your 3-2-1 snouts in the trough?
I think Billy Brownless, I've heard a lot over the weekend, turning up in different places for different gigs.
Okay. Yes.
Josh Gabbelich.
Josh Gabbelich.
Yeah, Gabbelich.
Had you there.
He's a man about town himself,
He is,
Gabbo. He
he
wouldn't
is.
know what was going on.
Bloody oath. Mate, I bumped into a lot of those too. There's a lot of people around, get around. Rabsy, you weren't bad. You're out to all hours.
One night. I was sick Thursday, did nothing Friday, worked Friday night, and was out in the Cumby till 1 a.m. on Saturday.
Well, Damo, he likes a drink. As we know, a lot of people think he's
Nothing wrong with it, by the way.
No. Everyone thinks he's a nerd and reads a book.
No, they don't.
Don't they, Jim? All think he's nerdy and reads books and things and goes to the library. But let me tell you,
You're still hungover,
the
right?
moon's a balloon and...
Oh, my God.
but...
The moon's a balloon.
David Niven. But he's still, buddy, he'll have a drink with you and stay till the end.
Yes,
So
no
that's
doubt.
what we love about him.
Now, Purple, what are you taking out of Gather
just
outside
quickly-
of how good it was?
Yeah, how good it was. Look, they will recommit to Adelaide. We know there's yet next year already taken care of in the
Good,
contract,
good.
And it will get extended. They're just going to time that at a time that actually suits Peter Malinowski, and I think he's earned that right because
agree.
he took the risk on this 3 years ago. It's got better every single year, as we've discussed regularly, and that was close to sporting scheduling perfection on the
was.
weekend just gone.
He was
So
out and about.
he was out and about. He loves
Oh,
it.
he loves
He
it.
was still in the
Oh,
rooms
yeah.
last night, wasn't he, with his scuff?
Roaming Brian or whatever.
We'll start with that game, though, the Hawthorn Port Adelaide game. That was extraordinary, wasn't it? As it unfolded with Connor Rozee and Zachy Butters.
Was there
and-
anything early? I missed the early stages just at the bounce. Was there a bit going on then or...
Not that I detected. I mean, I was only watching it on the screen. I wasn't at the ground. I mean, you could tell they were fired up and
Yeah,
ready,
right.
and you just knew that in the first 90 seconds, Zach Butters was going to do something that put himself and the person near him in danger, and he did.
He did, yeah.
But I thought Jason Horn-Francis was outstanding. I love the leadership
Again.
of Connor Rozee. So I think in this segment last week, we did put Connor Rozee in the negatives, Jim. And I think, given his form this year, following his lackluster form of 2024, it was a talking point. But he had one of the best games of
went
his
to half back,
career.
is that
Yeah,
right?
he did.
I didn't see
he
the
did.
game, but-
And kicked 2 goals, long goals, early-ish, that helped establish that extraordinary. It's hard to say. 71-point lead before half-time.
It
But
was unbelievable, that, looking at the phone. You know why? Rosie, Butters and Horn-Francis, all the same player. Go, see ball, get it. So they put Rosie in the half-back flank. I didn't mind that.
Didn't
It's
mind
a
it at all.
different type of player they brought in.
Yep.
Don't know who they
And
brought
then
in.
Willie Rioli
Oh,
didn't
that
miss...
got-
No, we'll
the
go
Hawks.
there. You've got it just in front of you there, Billy. He's just made some comments. Obviously, he was caught up in a moment late in the game where he showed the ball to Chunkworth Jath before he
Yeah.
kicked the goal, and then Jath responded. As you'd expect. I've lost my sound here.
No, you're right.
Sorry.
You're right.
Yeah,
Still going
he responded
through.
as you expect, and ultimately it cost a second goal from that moment, and it killed the game at that stage. And obviously, that was the end of the Hawthorn comeback to that point. And he then today,
Put up an Instagram story.
which is basically I don't really particularly want to read it out, Bill. I mean, if you want to, you can see it online.
Well, it's been deleted.
Yeah.
It's been deleted. Play with fire, you're going to get burnt. my hatred for this club goes way past last year's antics. He's obviously talking about Hawthorn there. What they did to my dad and my brother is why I can't stand them, not the players.
Yes.
So that's interesting. So his
dad was listed at Hawthorn, didn't get a game, and obviously the whole Rioli situation and the Hawthorn Football Club's investigation into racism, which happened late in 2023 and marred a lot of 2024 for people involved in it. So
that got spiteful then when that happened. That was on.
It was on then. Yeah.
What is interesting, I don't know if there should be 2 goals in the one instance. Kick that goal, yes, but then the next free kick should be at the centre. And I thought that was the rule, Damien.
I think it is for the infringement of a 666 bill after you've been given the warning and then you infringe again. I think the free kick goes into the centre, but not from. Basically, it is from where I think the penalty occurs or where the last goal was kicked. So I believe that to be the case. So that's just the rules as they stand.
But it's a lot. 2 goals, bang, bang. Yep. So I think it should go back to the centre and a free kick there. James Sicily had something to say at half time, didn't he, with Channel 7?
He wasn't happy.
We need to be tougher. I think we're losing too many contests at both ends of the ground and they're outnumbering when the ball gets to ground. So we need to pull our head out of our asses and get to work, lift the work rate, lift the contest and be a bit tougher.
And to their credit, they did fight it out. They found a way to get back to within 22 points. I think they'd run out of runway even before that Willie Rioli moment, Bill. But look, they could have turned it up and it could have been 100 and something points. It wasn't. And look, it wasn't a good result for them, but they at least responded after half time. So we'll take a look at the negatives from the Hawthorn perspective in the next break.
Can he get involved or do anything, or can he... Hinkley?
Not obviously. The players clearly spoke after the satisfaction of the win, how they all got their own personal motivations out of it. And look, Connor Rozee was trying to play it down, but Jason Horne-Francis said, well, he did. He loves rivalries and he drew on it. So it's clear it was part of what they were thinking at the very least, even subconsciously and subliminally during the course of the game, because there was, you could clearly see some animated discussions between the 2 player groups, which I loved, and I think it made great theatre, and I love the Sunday time slot of 7:30 coming into the Melbourne market at that stage. So just a couple of other quick positives. The first game, we discussed this on the Saturday Rub, didn't we? The danger performance, the danger field performance, Max Holmes, Tommy Atkins, Bailey Smith, Jez Cameron. What they did to win against Adelaide, to be the very first game of Gather Round 2025. It set the weekend up, as Collingwood's performance did the next night against Sydney Swans.
Hey, Collingwood are going well.
Yeah, 4 in a row.
They're going really, really well, Collingwood. They certainly can win the premiership this year. Bailey Smith, I love what he said about danger. He's got kids and married, and I'll do the
double bird.
Yeah.
I love the way he even addressed the reasoning behind it. He spoke to all media outlets who were seeking a comment the next day. It's just proof you can actually go down the path and speak, and it actually gives clarity to it. Quick one, Eric Hipwood's performance for the Lions against the Bulldogs. Jim, the 5 goals that he kicked after half-time to help retrieve a 39-point deficit. I like it was him because obviously the unknown this year going into the season as reigning premiers was, how are they going to cover for Joe Danaher? Not an issue. They're 5 wins, 0 losses, and they've all stepped up in their own little ways.
I love the Giants too. I think they're going very, very nicely. GWS.
A lot of goal kickers. Dick Tracy, Ben King, kicked 5.
Yes.
Fogarty 4. Toby Green 5. That's what we like to see.
We do.
Little break, and then we go to the other side of things.
I've got a few more positives, Raz, because Bill has been on me for many years about being too negative. Jim, you mentioned the Giants a moment ago, and what Toby Green is doing this year is back to the 2023 Toby, who was the All-Australian captain in that team at the end of the year. 5 goals on the weekend, and some of them, he could have had a whole lot more than that,
what
but
about the
just
pace?
Leading the way against St Kilda.
He ran away from someone there at one stage.
Look, Rowan Marshall had made a couple of efforts prior to that, and I think Jimmy Webster had also been exhausted by chasing him and others around. But I know the bit of vision you mean, Bill, and he looked like he was gout, didn't he? How fast he was when he kicked one of his 5 goals.
What was that start again?
No.
I don't know what opposition he had. I don't know what the team he played was, but Sam Walsh for Carlton against West Coast was good again. They won by 71 points, and it was the first time he'd had a proper game this year.
That's the worst game of AFL football I've seen in 15 years.
What was wrong with it?
We got to 3/4 time, didn't we? And we all looked at each other and we can't do half an hour more of this. I reckon even if you had the Blues players in this room, they would own up to the fact that it was a debacle.
Do you think we should just have the mercy rule in AFL?
Oh, you would have absolutely
stop it. When would you have stopped
Oh my God! Halfway through the second quarter.
Probably when Charlie Kerner handballed the goal
Oh, he
in the
handballed-
first quarter.
He handballed a goal.
Come on, Charlie.
Oh, it was just the West Coast are in a deep hole. They really are.
And I don't feel they've yet hit the absolute
Yeah.
bottom.
Don't say it.
No, I
Haven't
don't.
hit the bottom.
I don't think they have, Bill. I mean, this is this club now that has chosen to leave for the right reasons. Tim Kelly out of it,
Yeah.
and I don't know. And you've got captain or co-captain meeting with other clubs. I'm really worried that it hasn't yet got to where it could get to.
Matt Rao, Brownlow.
Matt Rao.
I told you 4 weeks ago.
It's possible he's polled in the 4 games, isn't it, that he's played? They're
26 bucks.
still unbeaten. Ben King's having a season too, Jim. 5 goals for him, 17 for the year. He's just doing all he needs to do, as is pretty much everyone at that footy club. And to
Well, I didn't see the game because we were on air doing the game we're talking about. How did North go from being 8 points up to losing by 52 points in half an hour?
It's because it's North Melbourne, Jim.
But
That's
they're
what happens.
obviously up to that point.
Yep.
Pretty good.
Yep, and then you lose by 9 goals when
Well,
the
the same
siren
thing can be
goes.
said for the Dogs.
Yeah.
They were comfortably up in that game.
39 up,
too.
yeah.
What did Clarko say after the game?
Well, again, it was late in his press conference or his media conference, but he did start making excuses, and one of them was the heat factor. And I just feel that this is a guy who once, as we know, took his top off when it was near snowing conditions in a pre-training
joke.
session. Yeah, but he was not one ever to go down the path of making excuses. In fact, what he was trying to do there was the conditions aren't a problem for us today, and they weren't. Remember they beat
reverse
GWS?
psychology.
Yeah. So anyway, I am on Cluckos and North's backs, but until they win a game of footy, there's reason to be.
What about the Melbourne Football Club? Where are they at?
Well, let's jump into them as the headline of the negative. Look, there's just nothing is working, is it, Bill? They cannot get. Well, they've only once got into the 70s this year when it comes to the score at the final siren, and they're yet to win. They had a good game, as we know, back in opening round against the Giants, but since then have not got near it. And it's now, I think, proof that whatever system Simon Goodwin is trying to instill into that footy club is just not working.
So if things don't work out well, who sacks Simon Goodwin?
Well, that's where the other dilemma with the
It's a
football club
dilemma,
is.
isn't it?
There is no CEO. They haven't had one now since Gary Pert stood down or came to an arrangement to not be the CEO.
When will
last
there
year.
be a CEO?
Well, they keep pushing back that timeline. I was at a briefing at the start of the year where they said they were going to do that in the next 2 to 4 weeks, and here we are 6 weeks after that briefing, and they're saying at the end of next month or this month. And
So no CEO.
no CEO, no absolute locked-in chair or president, because Brad Green has been taking that post in recent weeks in interim capacity, recent months, I should say.
Yep.
Stephen Smith has been identified, but you would understand this better than we could, Jim, in this conversation. But he's about to, in a month's time, go overseas for every bit of 3 months, possibly more, which is fine because that's what he wanted to do, having spent his whole career as a high-end lawyer. He needs it. He needs the family time, and he's not deviating off that. But how does this club function?
I don't know.
With
No
this
home
in play?
base. They're out of Casey. The players all hate going out there.
Yeah, they do.
It's not in a good spot.
Can't kick goals.
So back to your point, Bill, even if Simon Goodwin's coaching is going to be critiqued,
If he's zipping 10,
there's no one
That's
with
right,
the
the
imprimatur at that football club to make that call.
there's no one, is there?
In a way that then appeals to another candidate who is out in the market. Why would you go into that football club, no CEO and no locked-in chair? And it's not even, when you want to talk about this, it's not Brad Green's decision to make Stephen Smith the chair. It's, as you know, Jim, it's a board.
Yep,
the people on the board make that decision. And there may be some reservations around that, given the time frame now in play on that. Just the Hawthorn matter, we spoke before about them and heard what James Sicily said at halftime. Will Day has missed 11 matches now over the past 3 seasons in this resurrection of the Hawthorn Footy Club.
And
Their scoreline is 2-9
2 wins, 9 losses
in those
without
11 matches.
Will.
Yeah. I think there's something in that now.
Bloody
And
oath.
yeah,
He's a star.
yeah,
They're hard to replace.
they are.
The
But
best
I mean,
players.
obviously, one of those wins was a final against the Western Bulldogs, so that's obviously takes a bit of, I suppose, weight when you factor that in. But they lost the following week to Port Adelaide, and Port's now beaten them 3 times inside 10 or 11 months.
No, mate. No, they need him.
Yep.
Thanks,
I
Bill.
wondered where he's going then, Fat. Yep.
Adelaide has now lost 2 in a row, but I'm just holding for what it's worth on them. The Gold Coast loss in controversial circumstances by a kick back in round 4, and then having a short lead into the next game against the Cats. Again, they fell away against the Cats, but I'm not yet going to rule them out. I want to see them do it against a good team, and they're yet to do that this year. But I'm just letting them off the hook there, Bill. Worries and issues for Sydney Swans, though. No forward line to speak of, and Armadi now down with a soft tissue.
Oh, is he out? I tell you, fine. The two, well done, Brisbane, 5 and zip, and the Suns 4 and zip. There you go. Well, I know it's
Thank you, Bill.
Yeah.
We wrapped him up.
We spoke about both those clubs at length.
Where, Damo?
Listening's not a strength of Fats. He doesn't listen to anyone.
No.
Noah Balta, will he play this week for Richmond?
My opinion on this is that the AFL and Richmond should come out this week, today, the next 24 hours, and say that he's not, and to await the Corowa local court
which
will be after the completion of the next round of football.
Righto. Now, this Thursday, I've got a question for you and you, right?
Yes.
We got Brisbane, Collingwood. What a game that'll be.
Yes.
Which brothers do you want? The Ashcrofts or the Dacosses?
I'd take the Dacosses.
Just. The other two are bloody good.
Yes. And if you wanted some other brothers, the DeConing brothers, would you throw them in there?
What's wrong with you?
It's a good little question that we can have around the bubbler.
The Guthrie's or who else?
No, they're the three. You reckon? They're the three brothers.
No, I'm sorry.
That's a good one.
Well, thank you.
The Ashcrofts or the Dacos?
That's a rugby league, the bubble. We don't do that.
Oh, no.
The bowl of the bubbler.
In our conference.
Damo was doing it Saturday night.
Thank you very much, Damo.
At the Hilton.